Hi, I'm Orpheus. I'm a Tom of Finland Foundation artist in residence. I'm from the UK. I live on the south coast of England. My practice is effectively classical style oil paintings inspired by Caravaggio and baroque artists, but with a subject matter of gay fetish, rubber, leather subject matter. I began my practice probably about 8 years ago. Originally a friend who I knew through the fetish scene suggested modelling for me, and the practice that I developed really started from there, and it's snowballed ever since. I was drawn to the Artist in Residence programme at the Tom of Finland Foundation principally because it's practically the only organisation in the world that is really promoting gay, queer, fetish arts. It's a fantastic programme. The opportunity to live and work in LA for 3 months is like no other, and it's a great opportunity to really get to work with other artists, have your boundaries and conceptions stretched. I found great models out here. And again, you're working with Tom of Finland is one of the most iconic gay artists in recent history. So to be working in the space that he was has just been an incredible experience. My relationship with Tom of Finland and his artwork really began as a teenager, and I think like a lot of gay men growing up in the 80s and 90s, one of my first real encounters with very positive images of masculine, strong, happy, contented gay men was through the imagery of Tom of Finland. I think my work, and I think any artist working in this sort of gay fetish arena, all their work has some kind of conversation with Tom of Finland because he's such an iconic artist. In many ways, I think my work is in some ways in opposition to him. Mine is much more about the reality of fetish life, which isn't as always as the happy fantasy that Tom portrayed. But I think being here and in this environment and surrounded by his work has been a really interesting way to look at how he worked and to incorporate some of his ideas into my own practice. Since I've been at the house, I think my artistic practice has kind of developed in a number of ways. One of the things that's been a real joy here is through the connections that the foundation has, is having a really diverse and interesting set of models to work with. So one of the great things has been really expanding the type of model I've been working with in terms of gender and ethnicity and body type and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of been a real joy to kind of work with different artists and different models than I've been used to previously back at home. I think also being surrounded by other artists, it's been a really good conversation with the other artists in residence, with the other artists associated with the house, and also really exploring the LA art scene. The types of artists that have been shown in the galleries in LA are very different to the ones that we see regularly back at home. So it's been a real joy to experience different artists, different art forms, and different cultural events while I've been here. So this is the first time I visited the city of Los Angeles, and I think it's been a real key component in the value of this residency. What I've noticed in Los Angeles is people take play really seriously, whether that's art, whether it's culture. Everyone I've met here seems to have some kind of artistic hobby or practice, whether they're musicians or painters or performance poets or comedians or drag artists. It's really part of the DNA of the city is that kind of culture, play and fun. People take sex really seriously here as well. So that is infused throughout life in Los Angeles, I've found. Whereas other places I've lived and work, there's a real culture, there's a real divide between work culture and play culture. Whereas here the two are sort of perfectly melded, and I think for my type of work, that's been a real inspiration and a real drive. So the big project that I've been working on here is a triptych of 3 paintings that I've entitled the Tom of Finland House Triptych. It's an idea that I've been playing around with for quite some time, about using the format of a religious altarpiece with 3 different paintings, but depicting a sort of sexual gay fetish themes. Again, as I say, one of the great things that has been here is finding models that I can, like great models that I can really work with in an interesting way. The piece that I've worked on is very baroque in style. It's very much inspired by Caravaggio, a kind of Renaissance and Baroque artists. But I also incorporated some pictures within pictures. So within that overall scheme, are some Tom of Finland drawings that I really love to see, and have kind of been an inspiration for the work. And also, I've included some sort of elements from around the house, such as this amazing garden that I've been working in, and the orange trees and some of the amazing plants and greenery that are in the space. The archives at the Tom of Finland house are a real treasure trove, and they have been a really direct inspiration to my work. Going through the library, there is literally a book about every single gay artist from the last 40 or 50 years. There are also huge stacks of magazines, pornography, all kinds of material that you could imagine, which has been great to work with. I also had the real pleasure of seeing some of the original Tom of Finland drawings and leafing through the portfolios of those, and actually seeing the drawings close up and being able to touch the paper. It was an absolutely unforgettable experience. One of the other things that I've really enjoyed here that I've never done before is making collages. There's a huge stack of excess materials that the artists in residence can use for their own practices, and I've been producing collages by cutting out sort of from magazines, kind of books, and all different and bringing together different imagery in an analog way. And for me, that's been a completely new departure and a really fun and interesting way to develop and play with ideas. The biggest asset I found being here has been the community around the Tom of Finland Foundation. There is a huge community of curators, of artists, of collectors, models, people in the arts industry. So it's been really good to be able to connect really quickly into the wider LA arts and culture scene, and that's been a huge asset, and that has really enabled me to work in a way that I haven't done before. I think the biggest challenge of the residency program is actually the short amount of time. 3 months on the face of it sounds like quite a long period of time, but it takes, any time when you're moving to a new city, it takes a little while to find your feet and find your way around, and then to have an exhibition with a deadline and the requirement to produce a certain amount of work within that time introduces a certain amount of pressure. But I think for me that's been a real, it's actually been an asset, because that's kind of pushed me to kind of work harder, and I think in this 3 months I've probably produced more work than I have in any 3-month period. I think another challenge with Los Angeles as a city is possibly getting around. Echo Park, the area that the house is in, is a great area. There's lots of bookshops, cafes, and other sort of things within walking distance of the house. Going further afield is required using buses and cycling, or finding people to give lifts, but it has been manageable. during my time at the house, my relationship with Tom's work has really developed. The opportunity to see and be surrounded by his original artwork means that you're infused with that every day that you're here. The archivist was kind enough to give me a small sketch to actually have in my bedroom, so I was looking at that as I was sleeping at night. It's been such a pleasure to see the whole range of his work, from the initial very rough sketches right the way through to the finally finished original drawings. One thing with Tom's work is that he is an exceptionally good draftsman. I personally believe he's one of the best draftsmen of the last 100 years. But his work is quite graphic in style, and seeing the original drawings, you really get a sense of how he uses line, particularly strong outlines. And that's actually something that while I've been here, I've kind of been feeding into my work and trying to get a more graphic and a stronger use of line and definition within my own work. If any artists out there are looking to apply, I would encourage you 100% to do it. It's a fantastic programme. I think having this amount of time in this city, surrounded by this community, will almost certainly help you develop and accelerate your artistic practice. I think any artist in residence coming out here, my advice would be to throw yourself into the culture of the city. Los Angeles has a huge amount going on, from music to cinema to art exhibitions to cultural happenings. It's got a really vibrant gay and queer culture, and I think the best advice is to really use your time here and throw yourself in and say yes to all the invitations that you get given, and really experience the full breadth of what the city has to offer. The exhibition program here is another real asset. It's an opportunity to bring in curators, collectors, friends of the house, people interested in art, to really demonstrate what you've been doing while you've been here. I also used it as a book launch, so I've just produced a new book called Underworlds, which is a selection of my work in the last few years prior to arriving in Los Angeles. The exhibition was a really good opportunity to get the work out there, to demonstrate to people what you've been doing while you're here, and really build connections with the community in Los Angeles, which I'm hoping going forward will be a great asset to my personal practice, and those will be really good contacts for building my career as an artist.